Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel for Celtic fans all over the world, in superpowers like Scotland and Ireland, and even in remote little backwaters like the USA. Only kidding, you guys. Welcome to all, including any first-time viewers in the States, here to see us chat to a couple of good old boys from Pittsburgh. Welcome also to our panel today, limited to two others for this special show. Both Scotsmen, but spread out as far as a kilt-wearing rugby fan's knees. Paul in Australia and Ian in Wales. Hello, Paul. How's it hanging with you?
It's tucked up nicely, actually. No hanging today.
Did you get the reference?
The kilt hanging.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. But I was thinking, Gav, if we're the knees, then what does that make you if you're in between us?
Oh, dear, oh dear. There was a famous picture, or not a famous picture, but a picture of a female celebrating the rugby, and in the background, as the seats go higher, was a guy in this kilt with his legs far apart, and you could see everything. Unbeknownst to her or him, I think.
It's a risk. It's always a risk with the old kilt at sporting events.
Sure is. Okay, so speaking of us being all over the world and spread out, this is a little graphic that shows the times of the live streams, Mondays and Thursdays. You can have a look at those times and see what they mean to you. I should probably have changed the single American time from New York to Pittsburgh. That would have been appropriate in honor of our guests today. But anyway, you can see what that means to you. All right. And we're only getting started in this channel. We're brand new this season. So please feel free to subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Share it if you think it's watchable. We're pushing hard for 500 subs. Only a mere 500. So that gives you an idea of how young we are. Who do we have? We have some comments here. Hail, hail, lads.
Yeah,
God bless America. Frank being positive for once in his life. Look. Mickey Moynihan also, obviously, always here.
Our man Street Shitter in there as well, or women we
there is, but I decided not to show him because of the term in his name.
No.
But thank you for saying it, Ian.
No, no bother.
Gav calls him Street Shouter these days, apparently.
Street Shouter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what is on the menu today? This is what we're going to be doing. Number one, we're going to have a little look at the international scene and what that means to our Celtic players. Number two, we have Pittsburgh Celtic Supporters Club, and I'll be playing the video that is pre-recorded. I recorded it with them at the weekend. It was a great chat. And number three, we'll come back and do a little preview of the Hearts game, followed by our pick from the world of Celtic social media. So while I put this little ticker up to distract you, we can get started on topic number one. A quick mention of the Celtic players on international duty. Paul, why don't you kick us off with that? What caught your eye among our players?
Well, the one that caught my eye was the one that didn't get a game, to be honest. Callum McGregor getting a well-earned rest was good news for me. He pretty much ends up playing 90 minutes for Scotland on every trip, whether it's a friendly or not. And obviously pretty much plays 90 minutes for us as well. So it was nice to see him get a rest. And in the same match, obviously, Greg Taylor got a start, which is rare. But depending on how things pan out, that might continue again. And there's talk of Josh Doig coming into the future squads because I think they reckon that Andy Robertson might be out for up to 10 weeks with that shoulder injury. So there might be some change around on the left hand side for future matches. But yeah, that was my first pick, and probably conversely, it was good news that one of our players wasn't getting minutes.
And how about our players that did get minutes? Ian, you're a particularly big fan of Mikey Johnson. Did you see he was?
I know. I was going to say that the man of the match for Mikey Johnson struck fear into my heart because I'm still not sure my aid is fit. So I saw that and I was like, well, I can hear the Mikey Johnson fans starting already. I think we'll get the update later from Brendan Rodgers, but I think the biggest win from the internationals is there's no new injuries, which I think is pretty good considering how many people we had away. I know we didn't have some guys getting on the field. I know people would have liked to have seen, I know CCV came on, etc. Calmat getting the rest. But I think the biggest positive out of them all was just the no injuries. Hopefully, touchwood, let's see. But yeah, I think that's the best for us.
And Kyogo scored for Japan, didn't he? Both he and Hatate played. Kyogo scored, but was subbed at half time. Did anyone watch the highlights of that?
Yeah, saw the highlights of it, and it was a decent enough goal. And like Hatate was playing well again. I think obviously it's benefited him being under Rodgers. I think we were talking about it on the pod the other week about how there's been a kind of a chat with him, and he'd maybe adapted a little bit, and I think he's taken it into the international form. I just think that Japan manager is still not convinced. I almost feel like Kyogo's in there because of the pressure from the fans, as opposed to it's a player that he 100% wants to play. But look, him scoring a goal is going to do his chances no harm. And Hatate was decent. So.
And Cameron Carter-Vickers came on for 20 minutes or so in the US men's national team's victory, 4-0 over the mighty Ghana. Still a good result. Ghana
are a good side.
Generally, yeah.
It's good. Like it would classic cliche, but it's minutes in the legs, isn't it? He's still coming back, so extra time for him is great. We'll get on to the preview later on, but there's a bit of debate about what might happen with the team lineup, and yeah, good to see him getting a bit of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if he and Hatate can both get minutes in their legs and we can benefit from it, how good news is that for Celtic, those two?
Yeah, I mean, CCV's been a massive miss for progressing out at the back. I think we've all kind of seen that, as good as the guys that have done there. I think it'll be very interesting. I mean, not to skip ahead, but I think it'll be interesting because I think it'll be him and Scales. Be very interesting to see how that partnership will go, because I hold my hands up. I was one of those ones that looked Scales isn't going to make it. Like, I just didn't think he had the quality, and he's completely changed my mind. And now it's looking like, well, what will those two look like versus a Starfelt and CCV?
Yeah. Anything else to say on the international break before we change tack and play the Pittsburgh video?
Well, good to see Matty O'Reilly got a call up between the two matches over the window, but he didn't get off the bench. So, but it's great recognition for him, and probably even just that call up to the squad, bumps his value up. We obviously don't want to see him go anytime soon, but it's all part of his progression. The downside of that is they didn't have a great performance. So if he couldn't get onto that pitch, then maybe it's for his benefit that he wasn't involved in that match. But I will touch on that briefly very towards the end of the show.
Yeah, the more CCVs and O'Reillys we can get is better for us signing players, because we say, look, I think it's always been, if you go to Celtic, you maybe not. We've had a lot of international managers over the years pan our league. And I think if O'Reilly can get into that Denmark team, or CCV can get in there, then it's not really a valid excuse anymore, and bodes well for us maybe bringing in talent and saying, well, look, they're playing for their national team, they're playing for their national team. So,
well, speaking of bringing in talent, now it's time to talk to two very talented individuals from the Pittsburgh CSC. Now, I pre-recorded this at the weekend, and I'm going to try and play the video here. Unlike other Celtic YouTube channels, we always aim to go above and beyond, make it more visual and interesting to look at than just a panel of guys blankly staring at you for an hour talking about Celtic. So we're kind of pushing boundaries a little bit as to what StreamYard can do. I think hopefully this plays without a glitch. I will know if it doesn't, and then I'll maybe try an alternative if that's the case. What I would like feedback on from you guys, Ian and Paul, and also people in the comments, is whether the volume is okay. Can you hear it fine? If so, we're laughing. Let me know in private chat, you guys, or in the comments, like I say. So I've got various versions of this to play. If we've any issues, hopefully not. Had a great chat with these guys, and here it is. Pittsburgh Celtic Supporters Club, you're very welcome to a Celtic world. How you doing? Clinton in Florida and Sean, who's in Pittsburgh. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Well, delighted to have you. You're a very early adopter of a Celtic world. You seem to have been watching and liking our stuff even though we're in the embryonic stages, I think, in the foothills of the Andes. And you're also very active in your support of other Celtic content creators, as we highlighted. You're always retweeting other Celtic content, and also it's quite fitting that you should be our first American representatives.
Well, thank you. That's it's an honor. I think that it's pretty amazing that there's been such a explosion of fan created media associated with Celtic, and so much of it is fantastic. And I think that if we had this even 5-10 years ago, it would have really made a difference in especially in the States, and particularly in Pittsburgh, to really spread the word on with Celtic, and just the ease of being able to talk about the club, and kind of reach out to other fans and supporters. It's just fantastic. So I appreciate you having us on.
Oh no, it's great to have you. Yeah, it's amazing to be able to talk to people in totally different countries all around the world, and we're all unified by the one thing, the love of Celtic. Clinton, I should point out, is in Florida, but is very much a Pittsburgh guy. But you're on vacation, aren't you? I nearly said holiday.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. On vacation down here in Florida just for a couple of days. Snuck out of town, but of course I planned it around a non-Celtic weekend.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everything has to have the fixtures in mind.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to know you guys via getting to know a little bit about Pittsburgh, and then all about the Pittsburgh Celtic Supporters Club. So obviously our viewers are highly intelligent and well informed, but we might be able to fill a few gaps in their knowledge. So let's start with Pittsburgh first, before we move on to the specifics about the Supporters Club. I've got some images to help steer the chat. So the first question being, where in this great big Celtic world are you?
So Pittsburgh is in southwestern Pennsylvania on the East Coast in the States. We're traditionally known as a blue collar city. Came up as a steel town, built around the rivers, and a lot of proud sportsmen in the area. I'd say our flagship sporting team is we have our Steelers and our Penguins with hockey, and our Pirates in baseball, and it's a big sports town, with a lot of blue collar history and people that love sports.
Yeah.
Beautiful city. The city has a reputation for being it feels like a small town when you're there. It's a very small, intimate city, a lot of neighborhoods.
Yeah. I think what's interesting, they call it, the three rivers. So there's, they call it the confluence, and there's the Monongahela River, the Allegheny River, and those flow in, form the Ohio right at the point there. If you can see at the edge of the city, they call that the confluence. So that's kind of cool. If you see to the right, the little red trolley car, that is called the incline. So because the city is basically built in at least on one side of almost like a valley, they have these little kind of trolleys that go up and down the hill and take people from the top of Mount Washington down to I guess that would be south side there. But yeah, it's pretty kind of like it's neat stuff that's all about Pittsburgh.
You mentioned the industrial past. I've got a couple of pictures here. As you say, it was an old steel town.
Yeah, and then more recent history. I mean, a past of a lot of steel and big industry coming through. These days, we're actually more a bit of a tech hub. Tech has found its way here, along with healthcare. Two big things that keep the city moving.
Are these the cars that you're talking about? They used to have an industrial usage, and now it's for tourism. Is that the same spot?
It certainly looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there used to be more of them than I think now that there's only two, Clinton.
Yeah, now there's two.
Yeah.
They did used to have more of a use
So
for
there's a few pictures of the industrial past. I imagine things like this are quite visible. So Pittsburgh's very much Rust Belt, what they call Rust Belt, right?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah. I mean, they say back even not more than maybe 30, 40 years ago. Not 30, maybe 40 years, 50 years ago. But it would get so the smoke from the steel mills and stuff would make it almost like night all day. It was really bad as far as air pollution.
And what can you tell me about the name Pittsburgh?
So that was named after William Pitt, who was this is back in the French and Indian War. So there was at that point there was a Fort Duquesne, which was a French fort. And then, oh boy, you're really challenging me on the history.
I was going to say,
I mean, I only ask questions to which I know the answer. So
okay.
I was going to say, I'm really glad that Sean brought his history book, because I was going to say, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it was named after a Scottish or English
Prime Minister.
Yeah, something
William
like that.
Pitt. He was. Yeah. Well, this is straight out of Wikipedia.
Okay.
Pittsburgh was named in 1758 by General John Forbes in honor of British statesman William Pitt, who was the first Earl of Chatham, but he was also Prime Minister.
Right.
And as Forbes was a Scotsman, he probably pronounced the name like Edinburgh.
Right.
Pittsburgh.
Right.
It's now there was some arguments over whether the H should be dropped. It was dropped for a while, I think.
It was,
but it's pronounced Pittsburgh. And of course, that's Pitt the Elder, not his son, Pitt the Younger, who was also Prime Minister. In fact, Britain's youngest Prime Minister. As famously lampooned in the much admired comedy series Blackadder, of which I have a little clip to play.
Okay. Good old Mr. Bean.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd recognize him from that. Okay, and then let's proceed by taking a look at the more modern city of Pittsburgh. It's a nice riverside shot, a couple of fishing rods. And this is kind of just to set the scene about what it looks like. Real old historic buildings. I watched a little video that was saying, look, if you want strip mall America, don't come to Pittsburgh. It's old historic neighborhoods, lots of character, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that picture is actually Oakland, where the University of Pittsburgh is. So that's the building in the forefront is the Cathedral of Learning, and it is a really, really cool, huge, like Gothic type tower that is part of the university. It's so you're looking if you're looking at the city, that'll be west. This Oakland is east of the city, where the university is.
Highmark Stadium. Who plays there?
Yeah, so that's the USL championship is the league, or that would be the level right below the MLS. Although it's pretty kind of separate. So the USL has the top tier league, which is the championship. Then they have like a League One and League Two. Highmark Stadium is located right on the Monongahela River in South Side, and it's a really neat little stadium. I think it's probably about 6,000 capacity, but
what's the name of the team?
It's called the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, which It's not a great name, but they've been around since 1999, and this year, this year
I'm going to keep muting Clinton because there's some people chatting in the background there. Oh, there they go. Go ahead, Sean.
So that they're usually pretty decent, especially the past couple of years. This year they finished first in the conference. In the States, they have like a Eastern and Western conference. So got the first seed in the playoffs and won the I think they call it this President Shield or something like that for the best record in the whole league, which is great.
Clinton, would you like to tell us who plays here?
Oh yeah. That's Heinz Field, the home of our Pittsburgh Steelers. American football, 6-time Super Bowl champions. If anybody's interested in American football,
it's an incredible stadium.
It's also the home to our University of Pittsburgh Panthers. Their college football team plays there as well.
Yeah, I think
lots of view from the river.
Yeah, beautiful layout.
Almost 70,000 capacity.
70,000.
Maybe 68 something. 68.
Yeah. It's just around 70,000. I think it's 68,000 for when the Steelers play, and then they get 75 in for Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Like what? Okay. 2 or 3 nights. Yeah.
And here's just a few shots of streets of Pittsburgh, just to give the idea. Lots of red brick going on.
Yeah.
A lot of great architecture, especially downtown where you are in that particular shot. The most fascinating and beautiful thing in the downtown area, in my opinion, is in the little nooks and crannies of the area, you'll find these very old churches with beautiful architecture. There's jaw-dropping, really great stuff.
Yeah. What is that? Is that Market Square?
That's Market Square there. Yep.
It's
PPG building.
These kind of typical little downtown houses.
Those are the kind of house, not downtown. Those you'll see those as the neighborhoods spread out. Okay. So, and in more of the residential neighborhoods of the city, that's those row houses are pretty standard.
Yeah, it kind of looks very sort of it's kind of reminiscent of like European life. It's one of the more accessible places for someone who's, say, from Europe, because I imagine the weather, the streets, the people, the demographics, all of that, it's very sort of familiar territory, unlike somewhere like Las Vegas or Miami Beach, which none of us could relate to, but I get that feeling from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you get a lot of people, generations who've lived in the same house.
Okay, and here's a little Google map. As you say, I can't pronounce that river. What is it again?
Monongahela.
Monongahela. And then
Monongahela. That's the Allegheny. Mm-hmm.
And they meet there to make another river.
The Ohio.
Which becomes the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Apparently. Okay, and what we have highlighted here is the Cork Harbour pub up the Allegheny River, which brings us nicely on to talking about the CSC. And to give me time to move to another folder, what's the significance of Allegheny Arsenal for football fans out there?
So it was either, I think in the Revolutionary War, but I might be wrong about that. It was just I think making munitions and stuff like that, but I'm not really sure about doing a bang up job with the Pittsburgh history here.
Well, one thing you can certainly tell us is all about the people in this picture.
Yeah.
Clinton, do you want to start on this one?
Yeah, sure. The CSC, it really began with music. Sean and I are both musicians, and I knew Sean from performing different places and playing around town. And, we had an affection for a pub in the South Side, not Cork Harbor, a place called Piper's. and we'd run into each other there from time to time and have a pint and talk. And soccer was something that I never really got. It just never, I didn't. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't know how to digest the game. I didn't know how to enjoy the game. But I always wanted to. So I went to Sean, and I was like, hey, I know you're really into soccer, and I really want you to just tell me, how do I like this game? How do I enjoy this game? And he said, what you have to do is you have to pick a team and just stick with it. And you'll eventually get to know the players, and then you'll eventually get to know the strategy in the game. And he suggested Celtic. So I was just like, you know what? Okay, that day on the spot, I was like, I'm a Celtic fan. I did not know what I was getting into. I did not know, what the future would hold. But I did that, and I really did. I started to, get to know the team. I got on a kind of a rough spot in the team's history, but we don't have to go there just yet. But it was really fun. But then almost within weeks of that conversation, the pandemic hit. And, pubs went away and we were in our homes, and I had this new fascination with soccer. So at least I had something to do, I guess, as a bright side. And so Sean and I started getting together at my home outside, properly distanced from each other, and watching soccer at sometimes 7 a.m, U.S. time, and just started to really enjoy the game and get to know the game, and love the team of Celtic and the world of Celtic, as we mentioned earlier, the incredible community across the world. And then another buddy joined us, and then another, and then another. And before we knew it, almost every weekend we were having 6, 7, 8 folks in my driveway, spread out 6 feet apart, broadcasting Celtic football matches. And by the time the pandemic let up, we decided that we needed to probably explore some different avenues of where we could watch some, a pub or a different spot. And through a bunch of trial and, a few different spots, worked with a few different bartenders who support soccer here in Pittsburgh. We ultimately landed at Cork Harbor, which is a great spot for us. And they've been so kind and supportive and willing to open their doors at that great hour of 7. And we've grown to nearly, I don't even know where we're at these days, Sean. Are we over 40?
Yeah, I think that there's 50 to 60 people on the mailing list now, which is incredible for how this thing started.
And you know that this is the motto of Cork City,
Right.
Statio Bene Fide Carinis. Do you know what that means, Sean? I think you're itching to tell me the answer. You sound confident.
Yeah. No, I'll pass.
Well, it's much like what Clinton was just saying. You looked around for somewhere to go, and they provided a safe harbor. It's a safe harbor for ships.
Right.
It's adapted from a reference in Virgil's Aeneid, if you want any further reading.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
look, this is it all over Cork City, that very same coat of arms.
Yeah.
So if you go to Cork, you'll see it everywhere, and you'll feel right at home.
Right.
And look at this one. It says, upon this site once stood the Queen's Old Castle, famously depicted in the Cork coat of arms. So these structures, this is exactly where those are. And I think that's a lamppost. It's probably had rivers of dog urine on it over the years. And started to tell. Okay, so let's go inside, shall we? This is you inside the Cork. What's it called? Cork Harbor Inn.
Cork Harbor Pub.
Cork Harbor Pub.
Yeah.
And here you are again. You've got Sláinte Celtic Park. There's the Pittsburgh Celtic Supporters Club scarf that seems to be prevalent.
Yeah, people love those. That the guy there on the far left with the little kid. He's the one that designed. He does a lot of our graphic design stuff. That's Ryan Connolly.
It's a good Irish name.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like inside. Note, first of all, this bank of screens. Are they always showing one game, or are there different sports on?
They've started showing more. If it's just us at an early hour, they put it all. They'll have us all on. But there's some. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a whole lot of screens. It's a lot of screens to manage. I don't even know if they know how to manage it that well.
Yeah. Tanner Fitzgerald, the owner, he does a great job trying to sync up the screens and stuff like that.
And the ornate roof.
Yeah.
Quite interesting.
Yeah, tin.
Yeah, so that's the other point about the Cork Harbor pub, which was really, fitting to us getting in there. They were just opening their doors. This is a very old pub that had been closed for nearly, I want to say 20 to 30 years, just closed. And they bought it and kind of redid it. And well, Sean, this image here speaks to some of our Scottish nationals in the area. Sean, you could probably talk a little bit about how many great folks we have from Scotland in our club.
Yeah, that's Tom, and his mom was over visiting, and I guess she's into like she's a seamstress or something for and she debuted the Celtic dress at that was after that was over for the Feyenoord Champions League match. Yeah, but really a big surprise. For some reason I thought he had told me that she had made a like a quilt or something like that, and then he was like, "Oh no!" And then she just came out of the dressing room and with that on.
Quite a sight.
It's got a really great response. But yeah,
they're from Glasgow, are they?
No, he's from a bit northwest of Edin. Does that ring a bell?
Edinburgh?
No.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
He's a Scotsman.
Yeah, but we do have a couple Glasgow boys.
So this is a typical scene. You're watching the game.
Actually, yeah, that's probably not as busy as normal, honestly.
And everyone looks pretty glum. It must be a European fixture or something.
Yeah.
The only thing wrong with that picture is I don't see any pints in anybody's hands. I don't know.
This must be a Sunday. Unfortunately, Sundays, if it's a 7 in Pennsylvania, there's a dumb rule that you can't serve alcohol until 9 a.m. on Sunday. So
how dare they?
I know. So this is probably one of those days.
I like this guy's get up here with the socks and the shoes and the shorts. He's really going to town, isn't he?
Yeah. That's Brendan. He's a big like uniform junkie. So a couple of the guys got involved that were in kind of a group that loves like uniform design and stuff like that. So yeah,
here's
that's
a larger shot. Yeah.
They let us hang up the flags and stuff. Some of them they keep permanently. They treat us very well there. It's a great place.
Now here you all are standing on the porch in someone's neighborhood. A nice wet Pittsburgh day.
Yeah.
The architecture in the background. Note the variety of shirts.
Yeah, that is actually at the previous pub that we were at called Leo. And Clinton, how long were we there? Probably almost a year and a half.
As I mentioned earlier, after we got out of the driveway, we were exploring some other options, and we spent about probably nearly 6 months in a neighborhood called the north side of Pittsburgh, and they were also great. Another great Pittsburgh.
Clinton, do you want to just repeat that because you disappeared momentarily? Do you want to
I
start
apologize.
Just a glitch in the matrix. Do you want to start that again? Just the answer.
Yeah, no problem. So when we, kind of graduated out of the driveway and realized that we needed a, more of a permanent home, we explored a spot in the north side called Leo. And Leo had us as a part of their fabric for about 6 months. And we were there with one of Pittsburgh's great bartenders, Mr. Brian Mua, who is very supportive of the soccer community at large in Pittsburgh. His home bar, Piper's Pub, is home to multiple different clubs, EPL, all the big names they have there. And Brian's took us in at first until we found Cork. So, a big shout out to Brian and what he's doing for soccer in Pittsburgh, a huge advocate of helping the sport grow in the States.
Yeah. So that was the outside deck there at Leo.
Our transitional home.
Right.
And here's a sunnier day, and you're doing your bit for community food banks.
Right. Yeah. So that was actually at one of Clinton's shows at a venue called Stage AE on the North Shore, and Clinton does a ton for charity through his band as well, and that was for the Pittsburgh Food Bank, right?
Yeah, the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank.
So
we put on a concert, and I asked for some volunteers. And the first place I went was the CSC, and I didn't have to go anywhere else. I had a great group of volunteers come down and help collect non-perishable food items and some cash donations, and we raised just under $5,000 that day.
Wow, very good. Okay, now you're both musicians, so do you want to send me some links and I'll add them in the show notes of where people can check out your stuff? That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of music are we talking from the both of you? Is it similar?
It's actually a little bit different, which is awesome. I do kind of like a rock and roll soul type thing, and then Sean, Sean's is, I would say, a little more indie. Like, there's a certain term that I'm probably missing, Sean. Even.
Yeah, no, I would say in general that describes it.
Okay, great.
But yeah, we'll send you some links.
Well, I didn't realize we were dealing with celebrities, but I did come across, when I was looking at the pictures, especially when I saw Sean, I did think that he reminded me of someone in the UK. I don't know if you know who this is. This is a guy called Adam Buxton, who's a comedian, does a podcast, the Adam Buxton podcast. So he's a bit of a lookalike.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with him, Sean.
I'm not. I'll have to check him out.
Yeah.
That's funny.
On the subject of celebrities, I think everyone would recognize this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us the story behind that.
So last February, the Philadelphia CSC called the Plowboys, they have a Fela where they get people from all over the UK, Ireland, even all over the States to come in and celebrate Celtic, and they had Hamish as the kind of the MC for a lot of the stuff. So it was great to meet him. I'm a big fan of 67 Hail Hail, and super nice guy. I guess he has since moved to Australia, so they haven't been doing as much video content, but it's still a really, really great online magazine and blog.
Okay, yeah. No, he's a great guy. It's too bad that 67 Hail Hail has kind of gone off the radar a bit.
Right.
But there's always a Celtic world, to try and fill that void. So
yeah, we've had, I don't know if you know the Huddle Breakdown as well.
Yeah.
Juco James, he's been to the CSC, our CSC a couple times. He'll be coming more because I think his daughter is going to Pitt now. So he texted me and was like, hey, I'll be coming out a little bit more often now.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, well, sticking with the subject of music, maybe we could sort of round this section off with a little bit of music that I discovered, which helps paint the picture about Pittsburgh. But you mightn't love the style of music, but it's all just a bit of fun. So I'll play that.
JY Pittsburgh. Started with some factories, dream about Pittsburgh when I am asleep. Everyone here is my family. Everyone here is my family. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I wanna live in Pittsburgh the rest of my life. Sip Turner's tea and drink an icy light. I'll never forget it like pedaling a bike. Best city in the world, yeah, you might be right. In the summertime, you gotta catch the Pirates. Them Permanis, which sandwich ain't decided. Everything they got, you really gotta try it. Tomorrow you can worry about your diet. I love the burger and everything it has to offer. Call it Steel City, cause there's nothing that can stop her. Come to the neighborhood, remember Mr. Rogers. Check the skyline at night in a helicopter. Just a bunch of beautiful and hard-working Yinzers. Love it in the summer, even in the winter. Standing in the snow when we watching our Steelers. Be careful celebrating, don't fall into a river. Started with some factories, dream about Pittsburgh when I am asleep. Everyone here is my family. Everyone here is my family. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. Should play this when you stuck on the 28. Take your mind off the traffic and meditate. Go grab a Pittsburgher, it'll set you straight. Not a thing about my city I could ever hate. Love to take time off, visit Randyland. Pointing the phone everywhere like a cameraman. Iron City in my hand, cooled as an avalanche. Out-of-towners think our slang look like anagrams. We gave you Heinz and the Big Mac. Never really have to ask where a bridge at 446. Just to be exact, some visit and they stay. Not like kidnap. If you're ever out here, I know you see me. And you probably heard the Pittsburgh CD like a spokesperson for my city. Mostly PG, now say it with me. The pens are so elite. Started with some factories, dream about Pittsburgh when I am asleep. Everyone here is my family. Everyone here is my family. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh.
I
nice.
love Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never heard that before.
Me either. I dig the message though.
Yeah. There's some cool shots there at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and some of the rhyming was entertaining. Let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was. I better leave a link to that so that he's happy for us to have included that in the video.
Right.
So, I think that gives us all a pretty good idea about Pittsburgh and what it's like. And I have to say, I didn't know very much before, preparing for this chat. I maybe just caught by osmosis some sort of negativity about Pittsburgh, and I think is it fair to say that it's a place that's had a bit of a bad rep in the past, but is now coming out of that and has a lot more positives to it? People are starting to see it for all the benefits that it has.
I think that Pittsburgh did have a bit of a bit of a bad rep. We had a rough few years post the industry change. When the steel mills started to shut down, the whole city kind of went through a transformation. But in more recent times, and a decade or more, with the influx of technology and healthcare into the city, it's really starting to thrive now with a lot of young life and things to do and great food, places to go.
Looks cool.
it's really become a really cool spot to visit and live.
Okay, so I think we've done our bit for the Pittsburgh Tourism Authority.
You know what I can tell you? I can tell you, guys. It's easy for me. I can talk forever because I actually really do genuinely love Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I get that feeling from lots of people that they're so proud of their town.
I'll tell you, I've been to Glasgow a decent amount of times, and it really does remind me of Glasgow a lot. And the funny thing is that, believe it or not, Pittsburgh and Glasgow are sister cities.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on that point, let's finish it off with we're all Celtic fans. Tell me, are you happy with how the season's gone so far? What are you expecting from the rest of this season? Sean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're, finally seeing. I mean, obviously, we started the season off with unbelievable injury issues, especially in the back. I do think that it was a blow to the whole picture when Ange left. Getting Brendan back in, I think was great. Obviously, there was not everybody agreed with that. With how things turned out the last time he was here, but I think that being able to continue the good run that we've had, he was the right man. He's the right man for the job. With when Jota left, I think that was probably the biggest blow to us kind of continuing that kind of free flowing, creative play. But I do think that now that Brendan seems to have gotten, everybody coached up a little bit more and on board with his system, as well as getting the some of the guys back from injury. It seems, especially the last match, really seemed things like started to click. Hatate getting back, in form, hopefully will be huge. I do think that, Abada getting hurt probably hurt the stability of the wings, but it seems like Palma could be, somebody who's maybe kind of taken over that Jota role a little bit. I don't really.
So,
think
what's your shout for the domestic season? Do you think the title's in the bag?
I never want to say that this early, but with the the other end of Glasgow not looking all that hot, I think we're in good shape. I do want to see some something happen in Europe. I've never been so gutted with a result that I can't remember being that gutted. I mean, the elation when Palma scored that goal against Lazio, and then it was like the bottom completely dropped out of the pub when they rolled it out. It took days and days for me to recover from that.
Yeah. Well, Clinton, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
A point I made the other day on the show is that football fans are at their happiest when they're celebrating victory or they're despairing at continuous defeats and never making progress. And the beauty of Celtic is you get both of those things. On the one side with domestic success, and the other is rage that we're never going to make it in Europe and the board aren't interested enough. Clinton,
Right.
How many points, Clinton, do you think we're going to get in the European group?
Oh, can we start with 2? No, I would obviously like to see more, in Champions League. Looking at it more as a whole, I think, losing Jota was really rough. He was one of my favorites. But I think we're watching a team with a new coach. I think people are getting used to each other and, adapting, not necessarily a new style, but, new leadership brings change. And I think we're kind of witnessing that. But we have the talent to stay afloat. Certainly in the Scottish League, but there were some concerns early. But I feel like every game's progressing up.
Mhm.
And the perennial European cry for Celtic fans: "There's always next year."
Right. Well, I do think that it's really important, no matter what we do this year, to win the league and get into the Champions League again next year, and then maybe the board will spend money when they get that extra 20 or 30 million.
Well, fingers crossed. But going down that rabbit hole, that's a whole other show.
Yeah.
As for this one, Clinton, Sean, Pittsburgh CSC, everyone who's involved with you, who's watching this, it's been wonderful to get to know your story.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you all the luck on your channel.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Well, there you go, and we are back. What did you make of that, Paul?
That was great. The fact that the club's growing so big so quickly, the stuff from lockdown to now, they've done a brilliant job. And I guess the commit, like, I know what it's like to watch games at a weird hour, but at least most of them are in the night time. Champions League games are in the very early hours of the morning, but to get up and go to the pub at like 7 a.m. it's a bit mad. I remember being in New York years ago for the 6-2 game. I was a season ticket holder. I think that was my first year of being a season ticket, or second year of being a season ticket holder, and I missed that game because I was in New York on a sort of month-long trip in the States, which is a brilliant trip, but my brother got to go to that game because I wasn't in the country. But I was in the parlor in uptown New York at 7 a.m. or something daft, and we got on the beers that day. But the bad bit about that is you eventually stop, and then you've got a hangover by about 3 p.m. It's a pretty rubbish situation. So fair play to them.
Fans,
fair play to them. Did an amazing job. And just a great story. And obviously they've got the ethos of the whole club in terms of the community work and all of that. So really enjoyed that. Hopefully we can link up with more CSCs in the States and get more of those stories. I guess on Pittsburgh as well, I was same as you. I thought it was a bit like a Detroit, a sort of industrial.
You might be speaking to Detroit and they'll be telling us that Detroit.
Well, no, but I guess
like
Detroit. Well, the latest stuff I seen on Detroit looked like it was a city on the downward trajectory. But Pittsburgh looks great. It looks like a fantastic spot. And the Plowboys they mentioned in Philadelphia, my mom's actually been to visit that CSC in the not too distant past, and apparently they're a great club. So there's a thriving scene in the States, and at some point, if you get out there, let's pop in and see these clubs because they're doing an amazing job.
Definitely. And Clinton and Sean are both bona fide musicians. And as I say, I've left links to their bands in the YouTube description. So you should check them out. They're very interesting. And also JY, Jordan York. I Love Pittsburgh. I've since discovered he does a show like this, except it's much bigger and it's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I've sent him a message about our use of his video. Hope it's all cool. I linked to his music and to the sick podcast Steelers Crazy in the YouTube description. So if any of you are into their gridiron, American football, check that out. Ian, with your vast array of baseball caps, are you a bit of a hungry hip hopper?
I think I was from that era where Eminem was my childhood. When Eminem was, beginning, that was the music I gravitated towards. I was lucky enough to have friends that introduced me to kind of all the older artists as well, people like Big L and all that. So it was good. Shout out to Sean's pronunciation of Jota, by the way. I love the Americans Jota. I was disappointed that this year's FIFA on the Xbox doesn't have the American commentators, because there's just something, I always find something magical about the way the Americans describe it, or like have their little intricacies for it. I think it's really good, and it's as Paul said, it's good to see people develop a passion for Celtic, like, all around these worlds and springing up. My wife, when I married her, obviously she married into Celtic. She's in North Wales. And I remember we went to our honeymoon to Japan and Tokyo. We went to the CSC there, and she was that was our first kind of click in her head that how big a club Celtic is, because you've got like tens of people in different parts of the world who all go to watch the game religiously and things like that. So yeah, credit to them building a good club. It's always nice to see.
Certainly is. Okay, well, much as we could talk about them all night, we better move on. We've got a game coming up finally. So let's have a little bit of a preview discussion, shall we? The next few games are quite testing. We've got Hearts away, then Atletico Madrid at home, then Hibs away. So let's focus on the here and now. Hearts away. Is that going to be the least difficult of those three, Ian?
It's difficult. I mean, I think you would probably say it's the same as Hibs. It's more the location. It's Tynecastle is probably the thing that makes it, because we're not going to have the same size of away support. It can be, as we know, traditionally quite hostile. I think is probably the nicest way to put it. So I think probably, yeah, it edges that. I mean, talking about someone like, you look at someone like Naismith at the moment, he looks, and I hope this doesn't come back to bite me, but he does look like quite limited on the evidence. He's like less intelligent McInnes in terms of style of play, pretty basic. Doesn't mean that we don't need to watch out, especially at Tynecastle, but he seems to be a very familiar appointment in terms of Scotland, where the ambition is basically to kind of do the basic basic things right, and not really win any awards for attractive football. So I think it's going to be tough, but I don't think it's going to be tough because they're going to go in and pose a game and play us off the park and things. I think they're going to use the crowd, and I think they're going to just try and kick us. So yeah, I think it shades it because of the location. But in terms of Hearts as a team, they're doing fine. They're doing 3 wins and 3 losses or whatever it is. So yeah.
Any talk about who you think might start the game? Any surprises, Paul?
There's a bit of talk online. Nawrocki's obviously back in training and being bigged up by Brendan. I do not expect him to start. He, if he's on the bench, great. But really, I'm not expecting the centre backs to be rotated now. He's not even in the Champions League squad, right? So only can he be added if we somehow get out of this group, be it in this competition or another. He may be added for the new year. But so realistically, it's between CCV, Scales, Lagabielka, and Nat Phillips if he's fully fit. So I'd expect CCV now with some minutes under his belt and have started previously, him and Scales to be the partnership. And it's up to anyone else to try and break into that. And if we're unlucky enough to have injuries again, hopefully not, then that might upset the apple cart. So you'd expect those two to start. As we touched on really briefly, Miera might still be injured. I've not obviously not 100% sure where that is. Obviously missed the internationals. So if he's out, then we've got decisions to be made on the wings. Tilio has been back in training, so we don't know quite how far is he ready for the bench. Potentially, who knows?
Surely the same thing applies, that he's not in the European group as well.
Well, true, but that's an area where there's game time, right? So he might make the bench. Be him or Johnson would make the bench, you would think.
Mikey Johnson.
Yeah. But I don't know.
It's going to come true.
Well, it could be James Forrest starting in that wing. We don't know, isn't it? What's the lesser of 2 evils, James Forrest or Mikey Johnson?
If Miera's not fit, at least to start, then I think Palmer's definitely going to start on the left, and then it's who goes on to the right. And maybe there's a case, either Jamesy Forrest because he's been there and done it, or do you give Young another crack because he's still young, like, and he's showed some bits of promise without really having an end product. He obviously he started really well with the assist for O'Reilly's goal up at Aberdeen, but then he's never really caught fire since then. But that they're really your only positions to concern yourself with, right? If assuming everybody else is fit, we've talked about this a lot. It's just the wings.
Aren't you
Just the wings and
concerned about
centre-backs.
Hearts being a team full of highly dedicated players who are faithful to the cause, like Andy Halliday here? This is from Ronnie Dowler tweet. Andy Halliday's a jammed Hearts player and Clyde SSB, praising the new Sefco manager, hoping he does well, brings trophies and fans, galvanizes the team and fans. The same Andy that plays him in coming weeks in a semi-final. It'd be pretty sick if you were a Hearts player and your players were, or you were a Hearts fan, and that's the kind of thing your players were saying.
I'm going to shock you. Andy Halliday's a Rangers fan, and he's probably one of the more palatable ones that you see.
When are you going to shock us?
Well, no, I don't really have a massive issue with it so long as stuff's applied consistently. He's a Rangers fan. There's no secret about that. He's commenting in the club that he loves. Yeah, you'd like to think he's a professional, still plays with Hearts. But I tell you, if Scott Brown had come out and done that stuff at Aberdeen, all hell would have broken loose. So that's where you would probably say the issue is not the fact that a Rangers fan is commenting on Rangers.
Okay, let's move on to our Celtic socials. Here's another one for you. This is something I promised from a show recently. You can see his T-shirt, the Pork Chop Express. That's in honor of our very own Pork Chop Express, who's watching as we speak. This is Beard Meets Food. And I think our Pork Chop Express, I'm going to have to keep saying that expression, mentioned that this name comes from the rig of Kurt Russell's character in the movie Big Trouble in Little China. So that's a very long way of saying my social media, it's not even a social media recommendation, but my recommendation of the week is this website, archive.org, where you can find all sorts of movies that you'll probably not see anywhere else. If you think of a movie in your head that you haven't seen for 30 years, and it's not going to be on any of these subscription things, you can often find it here, archive.org, Internet Archive. So that's
Big Trouble in Little China is a good one as well. Is that a young Kim Cartrell in that one as well?
She's in it, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, good film, that, definitely. I mean, I don't know how it's aged. I don't want to cancel myself. I don't know if it's held up to the test of time, but when I watched it, I think it was all PC and okay.
Well, Kaiser doesn't worry often about things being PC and okay, so he's fully endorsing it. And there's Pork Chop Express. That's definitely me. Far too much hair. Okay, and let me see. What else do we have now? I'm going to find Paul's social media recommendation. Paul, talk to us.
So, yeah, this is, I stumbled upon this only in the last sort of 24, 36 hours. But on Tuesday, whatever night, in the UK and sort of early hours here, this account has been growing over the years. It's San Marino fan account. Whoever runs it is like super passionate about San Marino, and this is the pinned tweet. We scored and we equalized against fucking Denmark. And yeah, for 9 minutes, San Marino were all square with 18th in the world rated Denmark, and apparently during the match, his tweets were just getting loads and loads of comments, and I think a lot of Scotland fans had kind of partially switched off from the French game and had sort of invested themselves in this. And it's just I think he added about 17,000 followers in the space of the match was on. He went from 80 odd thousand to over 100,000. I think he's now at about 110,000 followers. And people just love his enthusiasm. So yeah, I thought I'd get back to a bit of a feel-good story. Just, I guess, the passion for football. I think how many is it? 50, 60,000 people, or 30,000 people. That is the population of San Marino. So yeah, they're actually 2-1 against Denmark. That's it's a pretty amazing result. Given the circumstances they're dealing with. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that, sometimes these Twitter things just take a life of their own during a set period, and it seems to be what happened the other night. Obviously, I wasn't able to follow it live because I wasn't getting up for that friendly match, I'll tell you that. So I was fast asleep. Having actually walked 21.5 Ks for a charity walk on Tuesday, so there was
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. But still a bit sore, but raised a grand personally and raised over $3,000 of Aussie dollars for cancer charities here. So yeah, there was no way I was getting up, but yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting story from the football world from the other night.
Brilliant. And I think tonight's show has been full of interesting stories. And we've come to the end of tonight's story. So obviously our thanks to Pittsburgh CSC. Hope you think we did a good job chatting to you. And welcome to all first-timers, Americans who've tuned in just for that. Feel free to come and join the Celtic world, be part of it. Only Mondays and Thursdays, so it's not nothing like overload or anything like some of these subscription things are. All the comments at the moment are about the movie Big Trouble in Little China, so that's not quite relevant to the end of the show. All right, Paul, it's been a pleasure as always. Take it easy.
Cheers.
And Ian from the Principality of Wales. Good night, boyo.
Diolch, nostal.
Jerry, bye. See you on Monday.